Hey there, thank you so much for clicking on this video. I'm Jordan Kelly with Working Aussies Homestead, and today we are going to give you a tour of our garden in beginning of June 2022. I'm gonna start over here with our greenhouse. In our last video, Josh did a review on this greenhouse and kind of went over our thoughts on it. He's got it put back together as best he can. We put some silicone in here, so hopefully it'll stick together a little better. But I'll show you what we've got growing in here. We've got some nice pole beans here to grow in between the corn. Obviously, they've been struggling a little bit. Then we've got this corn that Josh is actually transplanting tonight. And we've got some peppers in here, and we've got some cucumbers and some squash. We've got some Jericho lettuce over here. And then we've got a couple, looks like watermelons and some okra that needs to be transplanted. Those were items that were on sale at a local nursery, so we went ahead and purchased those. We've got some more corn over here that's very excited to go out. We have some more tomato plants in here. Again, the germination wasn't quite what we hoped, but it is nice to at least have some that will go out. Then we've got some beets in here and some radishes and some more lettuce. So we're excited to have that growing. So this is a new variety of lettuce that we are trying that supposedly is supposed to do really well in a warmer climate. And it's called the Jericho lettuce. And it was actually grown a lot over in Israel in the heat of the summer. But hopefully it does really well here. So we are in zone 8A, and unfortunately with that is we have very hot summers, so it will regularly get over 100 degrees with the heat index hitting 110, 120. So we do unfortunately expect that here in zone 8A. It is also pretty humid here. We're in North Carolina, and so we're kind of hoping that this new lettuce will do really well. We've got a spot out over here underneath this privet that Josh is going to try some shade gardening. So our first row here is our onions, and then we have some lettuce down on the end. The onions are doing really well. They have not started to push up their bulb or their flower yet. The research that we've done is the best time to harvest is when the flower starts to come up, but before the flower blooms. So it hasn't come up yet, but these bulbs are looking pretty good size around, and we're excited. There's 98 of them in this row, so I'm excited to have 98 bulbs of onions. But let's go down here and check out the lettuce. It has gone to seed. It's pretty late for lettuce as we planted them back in January and February. So we've harvested a lot off of them. So these lettuces, obviously you can tell where we have harvested them and then where they have come up and gone to seed. So pretty cool to see what lettuce in seed looks like. They have these really pretty yellow flowers, which they've closed up for the day. But as you can see, we have harvested off of them, and then they have just grown up with the heat, which is the term bolting. So we've got these chickens that are going down alongside our garden fence to kind of keep the weeds out. We have a couple rogue sunflowers. And then a newer thing that Josh is going to be doing is actually putting in these little garden boxes. So we're going to do some boxes. They're just super simple, built with pallets. We're going to do several down the line here and grow some more corn over on this side of the garden. So this next row, we have some more of the lettuce that we were just looking at, and then we have the perpetual spinach. Now this is more like a chard, so it has not bolted yet. It's doing pretty good. However, we have had some pest pressure. So that's the thing with organic gardening, is every year we have a new pest, and this is our third season gardening this area. But we you know, as with everything here, we have rotated the different vegetables we have in here. So we have a couple things in here that we haven't grown before, hence now we have some new pests. So one of the new pests that we have in the garden is actually potato bugs, and turns out the potato bugs also like our spinach. You can kind of see the darker marks down in there. That's actually their poop. But so we have some damage on the plants, and then we have some plants that are looking fine. We had this, oh, there's one. So that is our fun potato pest, potato bug. So we've got this kale that still is growing. We left it in here just because why not? There's another one. But then the spinach down here, oh, it looks like they've gotten to almost all of it, so it's all right, still edible. And again, some lettuces that we have harvested from. Now this next row is our carrots, and they have been doing really, really well. We have had minimal issues with weeds in here, minimal issues with really anything. But let me see if I can pull. All right, we'll do this one. Whoop, just a little chub. Just a little cherub right there. All right, the pro is coming to pick a carrot. The master gardener.
Ready? This one right here. Oh, that's a little chub too.
Not as chubby as this one. There you go. Merry Christmas.
Thank you.
You're welcome. The carrots are still growing in this bed. Most of them will actually be harvested and canned for our own pantry, but a lot of them will be sold at our local farmers market. If you're local to Dunn, be sure to check that out every Saturday from 8 a.m. until noon. We will be there. We actually sold 12 bunches of carrots this past Saturday, so that was awesome. That was only our second time taking the carrots with us, so they did really good. Now this next row, a little bit of a hot mess, but if you've watched any of our other gardening tour videos, or if you have a garden yourself, you know that there are certain parts of your garden that are going to be a little bit of a hot mess. We have our peanuts planted here in the first half. They're doing pretty well. Little bit of heat. You can see kind of the leaves have curled up a little bit. It's been a hot day today. And then we have that one rogue watermelon plant. So it starts here and goes all the way down there. We also have a couple rogue kale plants in here. So we've got some kale, we have a watermelon, lots of Bermuda grass. If you follow us on social media though, you will have seen that Josh actually posted about covering the Bermuda grass in our walkways with more cardboard and wood chips. So we still have to figure out what to do in the beds, but that's what's going on. There were a couple potatoes that are obviously not doing well. And then this next row, we've got our long row of potatoes. Again, we do have quite a bit of pest pressure, those potato bugs, but they are starting to flower, which means that harvesting will be happening soon, and I'm so excited about it. This next row is pretty exciting. However, this next row is going to be transitioning over here soon, as all of these this next row will be transitioning soon as we prepare it for the next crops to go in. We've got our peas on the end here that are currently drying so that we can use those as seed peas. And then after that, we've got some Roma tomatoes that have finally started to grow. We're really glad they did, because they looked like they were going to be pretty stunted when we first transplanted them. So we're really glad that they have started to grow now. But they're looking good. That plant looks beautiful. So we've got those in here. We've got this lovely purple kohlrabi, only one. And then we still have these broccoli plants that we have just let get big. So There's that golden hour light. Oh, that's beautiful. So the next row we've got more, well, the next 2 rows we've got more potatoes in here. And then we have more lettuce. Now some of this lettuce has not bolted yet, so we are still eating off of these. And this was several different varieties. A Merlot, a Cherokee, a Mirror, and then we also have a Summer Crisp. So really good variety of lettuces. Again, some have bolted and some have not. Now at the beginning of the next row, again we have the potatoes on the end, but beginning of this next row is our peppers. And really we've only had 4 that have kind of come out of their initial shock after transplanting. So we do have more peppers in the garden, more peppers to show you guys, but we're not quite sure what we're going to do, if we need to replace them or if we need to add some sort of fertilizer to them, which we have been doing some research on some like actual organic natural fertilizers. One of them also being, we do have rabbits, so we will make what's called a bunny brew, which is where you take a bucket and put the rabbit poop in there and fill it with water and cover it and basically let it ferment for 2 weeks. And then it's super potent once you open it, but it's a great natural fertilizer for your garden. So we have done that method before. We'll probably end up doing that method again, but it's an option if you have rabbits, or if you know somebody who has rabbits, you can make a natural fertilizer for your garden. This next row, we have our bush beans. So we've got our green beans in here, and those flowers have started to open. So we'll hopefully be getting some beans here soon. Again, this is our second season planting green beans on this half of the garden, so we do have some pest pressure. But for us, it's not a big deal. Then after that, we've got our squash and zucchini. And they're doing really, really well. We have a couple that look like they need a little bit of help compared to their neighbor. We've got a lot of grass pressure down on the end of these rows here. And then in our next row, we've got some more squash and zucchini. They're doing pretty good. We've got a couple flowers coming up on there. And of course, our first few signs of squash bugs. So those little pesky eggs. Always a good thing to keep an eye out for, and squash them when you can before they turn into bugs. Then we've got our okra. Now again, this is just our second time growing okra in this section of the garden, so we do have pest pressure. But otherwise, they are looking really good after their initial transplant, aside from the pest pressure. And then we do have a few stalks of our popping corn. So they're almost knee-high, which is good. And then our next 2 rows, we have our sweet corn. And the only thing with our sweet corn is we've got some that look great, that are dark green and about thigh high. And then we have some that barely come up to your ankle. So we're gonna have to come in here with some sort of fertilizer and figure that out. We do have more corn planted, and Josh is actually transplanting some right now. But we're interested to see how these 2 first rows come. So this, again, if you watched our first garden tour video, or if you didn't, these 2 rows are actually a early corn. So hopefully they'll be ready to harvest right before our other corn is going to be ready to harvest. We've got our 4-foot hedgerow in here. I did have some of our perennials actually open up. So we've got some perennial flowers in here. And then my zinnias are starting to pop up again. So we've got these beautiful purple flowers in here. This is one of our perennials that came back. Again, we've got some weeds. This is tarragon. The tarragon came back again.
Oh, good.
So that's awesome. And it's much fuller. Very cool. But this was actually, I believe it's called Suitor's Buttons or something like that. But really pretty white flowers. It'll grow nice and tall. But they came back in here. There's some zinnias for you, if you don't know what zinnias look like. And we have some different weeds in here. Another of the Suitor's Buttons. And then the further down we get, we have some more of my mint taking over. So we've got our mint in here. We've got another one of our pretty purple flowers, more mint, more suitors buttons. So lots going on in this 4-foot row of weeds and flowers. So these next 3 rows we finished not too long ago, but Josh is going to be transplanting the corn in there. So he is just transplanting them in here. So they're looking beautiful. Hopefully they still look beautiful after they get settled in. We'll come down here and check it out. So what all did we put in the holes?
So we're trying to pull it out without damaging any of the root system. This is the tap root here, but these are 15 days in the tray, and then they'll look like this and they'll be ready to transplant. And then we're using a little bit of Trifecta Plus, which is what Luke uses in my gardener. That is his method of choice, or fertilizer of choice. And so we're trying that this year on the transplants on this plot, instead of our normal like alfalfa meal mix that we usually use, that we used over here. So we're putting just a little bit in a line with the holes, and then we're transplanting, and then we're covering up. And if there's any of the fertilizer left on top, we'll just kind of smooth it all in and get it all in there. So
very cool. That makes it nice and easy when they pop out like that. This next row that's covered, we have it covered with Agribon, and we actually have it doubled up so that it can keep everything a little bit cooler, a little bit more moist, since we have not had rain for several weeks. But this next row is actually another row of carrots. So we're excited to hopefully get some more carrots this summer, and hopefully they sprout up as well as our other row. That would be awesome. Now this next row is going to be beets and radishes, and then the next 2 rows are going to be lettuces, so the lettuces that we have in the greenhouse, and beans. And then this next row here we have some sweet yellow peppers planted, and so they were just transplanted. They're looking a little sad, but they'll get there. A little bit more water and I think they'll be fine. This next row we have our beans, and they have sprouted up a bit, but we still covered them with Agribon, only 1 layer in this row, and that's to just kind of help keep them a little bit covered from the sun, give them a little bit of shade, as well as keep them a little bit more moist. Our next row we will have those cucumbers planted that you guys saw in the greenhouse, so that'll be perfect. And then our last 2 rows are going to be more tomatoes. So we do have some celebrity tomatoes right here. They have had a little bit of pest pressure, but that's okay. They're really gonna be for us instead of to sell at the market. That's one thing that I don't know if we'll ever grow enough tomatoes to sell at the market. People around here love their tomatoes, and so we have a lot of farmers that actually specifically grow tomatoes. But we do have these beautiful celebrity tomatoes in here, and then we'll continue the line down both of these 2 rows. And then our cucumbers. So that is what we have going on and jamming in our garden here in Zone 8 at Working Aussies Homestead. Again, if you're not familiar with this method, we do market gardening. So we do 30-inch beds, 18-inch walkways. Our beds are 35 feet long, and we do an irrigation system used with sprinklers that we have hooked up to our well. And then we do have a flock of chickens that stay in the front here that regularly get either chips from when we have our meat chicks in the brooder, or they get any bad vegetables that we pull off the vine, as well as any weeds, and when we go to prune some of the vegetables, that's what they get. So they're pretty happy here in the front, and they provide us with quite a few eggs every day. Thank you again so much for tuning in to this garden tour video, and we hope to see you next time. What's growing in your garden? Comment down below, subscribe if you aren't already, and like and share this video with your friends. Thanks for watching. Bye guys.